What stories you will tell your grandchildren about myths you have lived in your life, the famous myths in the world? Do we really believe on them? It is $1,000,000 question, as it always depends where you are living and how familiar you are with today's drastically changing world and how you are adopting the technology in life. My name is Zar, and I try to explain things to common man that we all educate each other having look in past and today's changing world, where technology, geopolitics, and economy are most believable myths of nations. In today's world, I do believe technology, geopolitics, and economy are the myths. Let us break down historical myths. Examples of famous myths are Hercules and the Lion, the birth of Horus. The children of Lear, respectively from Greek, Egypt, and Ireland. Many myths and legends are widely known around the world, often originating from ancient cultures and still influencing modern beliefs and storytelling. Some of the most popular include figures like Additionally, stories like the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known written stories, and the myths surrounding figures like Hercules and the Oracle of Delphi continue to resonate today. Popular myths and legends. Greek mythology. Figures like Zeus, the king of the gods, and Hercules, known for his strength and heroic feats, are widely recognized. The story of the Oracle of Delphi, where a priestess would deliver prophecies, is also a well-known myth. Divine loves, goddesses. Apollo. She declined both and petitioned Zeus to allow her to remain an eternal virgin. Musai, muses. Apollon was said to have loved all 9 Musai, and not being able to marry all 9, chose to remain unwed. The Iliad is one of the most famous stories written down from oral traditions in around the 8th century BCE, and telling of the legendary war between the Greeks and the Trojans following the abduction of Helen of Sparta by Prince Paris of Troy. Medusa was beheaded by the Greek hero Perseus, who then used her head, which retained its ability to turn onlookers to stone, as a weapon, until he gave it to the goddess Athena to place on her shield. Norse mythology. Thor, the god of thunder, is a prominent figure in Norse mythology and has gained popularity through modern media. Thor, from Old Norse Thor, is a prominent god in Germanic paganism. In Norse mythology, he is a hammer-wielding god associated with lightning, thunder, storms, sacred groves and trees, strength, the protection of humankind, hallowing, and fertility. Hindu mythology. Vishnu, one of the principal deities, is widely revered in Hindu tradition. The Epic of Gilgamesh. This ancient Mesopotamian epic is considered one of the oldest surviving works of literature and tells the story of Gilgamesh, a legendary king. The Epic of Gilgamesh is a well-known Mesopotamian myth, often regarded as the oldest surviving work of literature. It was initially a number of individual short stories and was not combined into one cohesive epic until the 18th century BCE. Various creation myths. Many cultures have their own creation myths, explaining how the world came into being. According to Aztec mythology, the present world is a product of 4 cycles of birth, death, and reincarnation. When each world is destroyed, it is reborn through the sacrifice of a god. The god's sacrifice creates a new sun, which creates a new world. The myth is sometimes referred to as the legend of 5 suns. Again, as in the Mayan calendar, the Aztec ritual and civil cycles return to the same positions relative to each other every 52 years, an event celebrated as the binding up of the years, or the new fire ceremony. In preparation, all sacred and domestic fires were allowed to burn out. Most terrifying myths are there, like, what is the most terrifying myth? The legend of the Wendigo, the tragic tale of Medusa, the fearsome legend of the Kraken, the legend of the Chupacabra, the haunting wail of the Banshee, the legend of the deadly Joragumo, the horrifying legend of the Nukalavi, the lethal gaze of the Basilisk. There are 3 remaining myths today, in practical way. Ideological, historical, and psychological. There are actually many different types of myth, not just 3. In fact, there are several entire theories of myth. The theoretical study of myth is very complex. Many books have been written about theories of myth, and we could have an entire class just on theories of myth without studying any of the myths themselves. The problem with theories of myth, however, is that they are not very good. They don't do a great job of explaining the myths or helping us understand them. Furthermore, the myths themselves are much more interesting than the theories. For these reasons, this textbook will not say very much about the theories of myth. But we don't want to ignore the theoretical study of myth entirely, so we will limit ourselves to discussing only 3 types of myth. 1. Ideological myths. Ideological, sometimes spelled ideological. Myths explain the reason why something is the way it is today. The word ideological is from the Greek word aion, meaning reason or explanation. Please note that the reasons given in an ideological myth are not the real or scientific reasons. They are explanations that have meaning for us as human beings. There are 3 subtypes of ideological myths: natural, etymological, and religious. A natural ideological myth explains an aspect of nature. For example, you could explain lightning and thunder by saying that Zeus is angry. An etymological ideological myth explains the origin of a word. Etymology is the study of word origins. For example, you could explain the name of the goddess Aphrodite by saying that she was born in sea foam, since aphros is the Greek word for sea foam. A religious ideological myth explains the origin of a religious ritual. For example, you could explain the Greek religious ritual of the Eleusinian mysteries by saying that they originated when the Greek goddess Demeter came down to the city of Eleusis and taught the people how to worship her. All 3 of these explanations are not true. Zeus's anger is not the correct explanation for lightning and thunder. Aphrodite's name was not actually derived from the Greek word aphros, and Demeter did not establish her own religious rituals in the town of Eleusis. Rather, all of these explanations had meaning for the ancient Greeks, who told them in order to help themselves understand their world. 2. Historical myths. Historical myths are told about a historical event, and they help keep the memory of that event alive. Ironically, in historical myths, the accuracy is lost, but meaning is gained. The myths about the Trojan War, including the Iliad and the Odyssey, could be classified as historical myths. The Trojan War did occur, but the famous characters that we know from the Iliad and the Odyssey, Agamemnon, Achilles, Hector, etc., probably did not exist. 3. Psychological myths. Psychological myths try to explain why we feel and act the way we do. A psychological myth is different from an ideological myth because a psychological myth does not try to explain one thing by way of something else, like explaining lightning and thunder with Zeus's anger does. In a psychological myth, the emotion itself is seen as a divine force, coming from the outside, that can directly influence a person's emotions. For example, the goddess Aphrodite is sometimes seen as the power of erotic love. When someone said or did something that they did not want to do, the ancient Greeks might have said that Aphrodite made them do it. Top 7 most powerful mythical beasts. Dragons. Dragons have both of the attributes that we associate with power, strength and magic. 1. Trolls. Trolls are large, formidable creatures that live in caves or mountainous regions. 2. Griffins. 3. Basilisks. 4. Hydra. 5. Unicorns. 6. Amaroks. Modern myths. These are common misconceptions or beliefs that are not supported by evidence, such as the belief that goldfish have a 3-second memory. But fact is, today, as myths are technology, geopolitics, economy of nations, what stories we'll tell our grandkids is fully depend on us how we judge the world today. Are not we kill or oppress other nations to bend according to our interests? Simply, we remain same Hercules Thor, just name changed. It is being done by nations instead of individuals. Sometime nation gathered all together to loot others, rub them, kill them. Some only alone are doing same job as it has been done in history of mankind. Thank you for having you with me. Kindly subscribe. If you liked my efforts in today's video, it will keep me motivated to serve you better in future.